I'm joined now by the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Democratic Congresswoman from California, Nanette Barragán. So, Congresswoman, I don't know if you heard that from Don Bacon. He seems to think these negotiations are quite close to concluding, but we know the Senate has punted at least any vote till 2024. What do you know about the current state of these negotiations?
Well, thanks for having me, Garrett. The state of the negotiations is that they're continuing to do everything they can to get a deal done. But that continues to be a concern for me and members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. You're talking about significant changes to immigration policy without a single CHC member at the table, whether it's a senator or a House member. That's just unacceptable. That would be like a deal on civil rights and voting rights without a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. It would just be unheard of.
So what are you asking for here? I mean, are you just trying to get CHC members in the room? Do you want to be more involved through the White House? Like, what's the solution to the process problem here from your perspective?
Well, first of all, we need to be in the room. Somebody needs to be in the room to represent our communities and our voice. That's the first thing. But the other thing, Garrett, is that I don't think you should be talking about a border and immigration policy changes in the same foreign aid package. And I think that's a mistake because it's not a negotiation. It really is a hostage taking. Republicans have taken critical foreign aid dollars that are needed and saying, we're not going to give it unless you give us all these things. And some of these things, as we know, there's no way they could pass through regular order. And we're not getting anything in exchange. You know, Americans want border security. They want pathways to citizenship and things that are going to uplift immigrants. And this is not that. This is more deportations. This is more going into different parts of the country and having folks deported. This is calling for mass incarceration, which is going to mean we would have to build massive private prisons along the southern border. This is trying to put an end to things like parole, which is a tool to actually have a orderly, humane migration. So what Republicans are talking about here are not going to fix the problem at the southern border. I would argue it's going to make things worse.
So a couple things. I mean, it was the White House that linked border policies, or at least the border issue, with, you know, the foreign aid when they sent this supplemental down. That wasn't just Republicans. Although I take your point that that has become the overwhelming force of discussion here. You've outlined some of the things you don't like, at least what we know is being discussed in these immigration negotiations. But I wonder, do you accept the premise, and you just heard some of this from Don Bacon, that if 1,000 people a day was a crisis under Obama, that 12,000 people a day is a major crisis now, that something has to be done quite quickly on the southern border?
There is no disagreement that something has to be done. And this is where we are all in agreement. By the way, Republicans are the ones that are saying no to millions of dollars in more Border Patrol agents. They're saying no to millions of dollars and more CBP officers. They're saying no to $1 billion in ICE detention beds. They're saying no to millions of dollars to fight fentanyl crossing the border. So we need to put money into things like more capacity, more infrastructure to process people, more legal pathways. These are the things that we know have worked. If you take a look at what happened in October of last year, when you saw Title 42 in place, border crossings were higher. There was more apprehensions in October of last year than there was October of this year when you had no Title 42. And that's one of the things on the table. Some kind of a trigger like a Title 42 that basically is going to allow no due process and just sending people back. Those people continue to come across and make efforts to come through within the ports of entry. And so that's why I don't think this is going to solve the problem. And you're talking about massive changes to immigration for one-time aid, foreign aid that's critically needed. But this is not the way to do it. So we do agree something needs to be done, but this needs to be a different conversation with a real negotiation.
Congresswoman, you talked about the idea that CHC members aren't here at the table enough. Can I broaden that question out a little bit? Do you think that President Biden is doing enough to reach out to Hispanic Democrats more broadly right now?
Well, you know, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus has had an initiative called CHC on the Road this year, and we've partnered with the Biden administration to go across the country to talk about a lot of the things that we have been able to do in the last Congress, whether it's lowering prescription drug prices, whether it's making sure we're investing in jobs for things like the Latino community construction jobs through the infrastructure bill, which we did when we went to New Mexico with Secretary Buttigieg. We were just in Houston, Texas with Vice President Harris talking about a lot of different things, whether it was mental health investments, women's reproductive rights. So we are doing outreach. More needs to be done.
I'm hearing about you're talking about your outreach. I'm asking about the president's outreach.
Well, this has been in combination with the White House. So the CHC partnered with the Biden-Harris administration to do this. But there's no doubt that the president and all of us need to do a better job to reach out to Latino communities early and often, all the time, not just in a campaign year, but in an off year, to make sure that people know their voices are heard, that they know what we're doing and what we're fighting for, but also to have the ability to be heard. And so I think this is an ongoing effort. And we know that the largest growing population are Latinos across the country.
Congresswoman, that's all the time we have for today, but something tells me we'll be talking about this well into the new year. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.